Hello and welcome. This is Direct Talk. Today we have Getachew Reda, member of Tigray Central Command. We'll be discussing about recent developments on the war in Tigray. Getachew, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, first let's start with yesterday's statement by the Tigray Central Command that the Tigrayan forces have withdrawn from northern Wollo of Amhara territory. Why withdrawing?
Have been withdrawing from northern Wollo. First, because our forces didn't have the intention to stay there indefinitely. It had everything to do with what we meant to achieve by objective, which was to force the government's hand, the Addis Ababa authorities' hand to sue for peace. Obviously, rather than responding affirmatively to our calls for peace, the regime in Addis Ababa has opted for further escalation of the conflict by once again inviting the Eritrean regime or handing over its authority to the Eritrean regime to coordinate its efforts against Tigray. That's one area. Obviously, our intention was to force the authorities in Addis Ababa to sue for peace, but looks like it hasn't worked. Second, the efforts by the regime in Addis Ababa to try and dislodge our forces from the positions they had already taken hasn't worked. We have been in control of that part of the country for almost 38, probably 39 days now. They have, apart from the 3 divisions we managed to neutralize after the first invasion on 24th and 25th and 26th of August. We have been repulsing efforts after efforts of the Ethiopian regime to take back territories that had been taken away from it. Rather than managing to take authorities back away from us, it's been losing ground after ground. And fortunately or unfortunately, this involved the loss of tens of thousands of people, armed personnel. So it was clear that the authorities in Addis were not in a position to put up more offensive that would threaten our positions. And third, of course, it was becoming increasingly obvious that with the renewed invitation to the authorities in Asmara to join the fray, mostly after the 1st of September, I should think, was 30th of August, the theater of operation obviously shifted to Adiabo. So we realized that there was little or no point for us to focus on northern Wollo as a theater of operation, and we have to do something about the more concerted effort that's being waged against us in Adiabo and other parts of Tigray. So yeah, that's pretty much why we decided to withdraw from parts of northern Wollo. In the first place, it was never our intention. Second, our intention was about forcing the hands of the regime to agree to peace, which it is not ready to. Third, there is an increasingly more violent and more potent involvement of the Eritrean forces that's coming from the northwestern part of the country, and we have to deal with that challenge head on. And That's pretty much why we are withdrawing our forces from Northern Wall. So it doesn't change the fact that if and when there is a military need for us to go back to Northern Wall or other part of the country, would still be free to do so. But we are trying to send a message to the people of Amara that we're not particularly interested in land, we're not particularly interested in territory, we are more interested in what we can do with territory than what that territory represents on its own.
Can you give us a picture of the battles in other fronts?
Well, in northwestern parts of Tigray, in Ariabo, we've been fighting for the last 39 days. The Eritreans and the Ethiopians have joined hands there, and Abiy has sent about 3 divisions plus several commando units that are fighting alongside with about 30, 24, 25 Eritrean divisions in the northwestern part of the country. Of course, the Eritreans had already also sent 5 divisions along with mechanized units through Barahle, which we have effectively neutralized. And of course, in other parts of the country, we obviously have realized that the Eritreans are the ones who are calling the shots. Abiy obviously has abdicated responsibility in favor of the Eritreans, and the Eritreans are the ones who are saying yes and no to decisions from Addis Ababa. And at Darkai, we neutralized enemy offensive, and we are in control of most of northern Gondar in that regard. In Wag, we have stopped their advance, but also repulsed their units, which obviously were told to make it into northeastern part of Tigray, probably to Samre and to Abergele. That's not going to happen. In Raya, as I have already explained, they had made several efforts to break our defense lines. They didn't manage to do so. In Barahle, the Eritreans tried what they could and didn't work. But obviously, we are dealing with people who are hell bent on bringing the Tigrayans to their knees, and I don't think they will stop. They will stop anytime. But as far as we're concerned, we're still defending our positions. In many cases, taking counter-offensive measures against enemy forces.
Okay, let's proceed to continue the aerial attacks on different parts of Tigray, including the Ad-Dar massacre that was conducted on Meskel Hole by Eritrean forces, which was unfortunately given less attention by international media. Why?
The international media, it's not just the international media which is not paying enough attention. It is the international community itself which is conspicuously missing in paying attention to what's happening in Tigray. It's very unfortunate even international community, the humanitarian community, which is based in Mekelle and based in Tigray, is mostly involved in trying to keep the stories under wraps. I mean, and I try to report things as they happen, rather focusing on things that are supposed to avoid inflaming their relations with the authorities in Addis Ababa. You know, humanitarians are supposed to stand for humanitarian values. They are not supposed to coddle tyrants. They are not supposed to doctor stories or reports in the interest of tyrants. it's very unfortunate that many in the international community here have difficulty working with. I know they are working in a very prohibitive environment where every report they write is closely scrutinized by the authorities in Addis Ababa. But then again, it's one thing to try and work with the authorities in Addis Ababa, but it's entirely different to abandon one's humanitarian values. But it's very unfortunate. So the Ali Da'aro massacre is downright criminal in every sense of the term. Of course, WFP trucks have been targeted by drones. The Eritrean government has been targeting Tigrai, Zalambasa, all those areas. And it's been indiscriminately shelling areas. There has been little in the way of condemnation by the international community, including people who are based in. I don't exactly know for when they are trying to save their frustration or their disgust, if they have any. What happened in the Adi Da'aro is mind-boggling, because even the Abiy government, which obviously is operating under the instructions of the Eritrean regime, came out in public and said it was the Ethiopian government, not the Eritrean government, which did conduct the attack. Honestly, in the face of such heinous crime and destruction, it doesn't matter who was behind those attacks. The fact that there were people in the corridors of power who had the audacity to order such kinds of heinous crimes is downright scandalous as far as we're concerned. But yeah, the international community needs to say enough is enough. We're not dealing with a court issue where we have to come up with evidence with a probative value to persuade them into believing that this indeed has happened. Their own representatives have been witnesses. Their own representatives have been there firsthand to see what did transpire. But more importantly, the media is more interested in spots where the attention of the international community is particularly trained on. Whether Tigray is drawing the level of interest that other hotspots are drawing is an entirely different matter. But as far as humanitarian values are concerned, I think Tigray is as much entitled to that attention as other hotspots are.
Okay, as you mentioned, Eritrean forces have been shelling different towns of Tigray, including Irob, Zalambasa, and Adigrat. And even the International Commission of Human Rights Experts in Ethiopia said Eritrean involvement in the war on Tigray is disturbing the Horn. So why do you think the international community is tolerating the Eritrean regime?
Well, honestly, I can only make a wild conjecture in this regard. Is the international community counting on a sort of conclusive outcome of the conflict? It's 40 days now, and some of them are probably hoping that Tigray would lose and Abiy would come out victorious, and that's not going to happen. That much I can assure you. Some of them would probably be assuming that Tigray would be weakened enough to let go of some of the realistic and natural demands it makes of the international community to honor if it's going to be part of any meaningful peaceful process. Third, they are hamstrung by their lack of leverage. Whichever the explanation is, one thing is very clear, that the international community is not playing any meaningful role in reining in downright criminals like Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki from killing thousands of people left and right. These people have perfected killing into an art form. They have been killing thousands for the last 2 and so years, and yet the international community is conspicuously missing in when it comes to taking action rather than making sort of perfunctory statements or concerns about the role they are, the negative role they are playing. So what exactly the international community can say is a function of what it is ready to say. And as far as we're concerned, the international community should live by the very principles it professes in public, the very principles it continues to say it upholds. Unless it does so, we know we are on our own. We will be doing everything in our power to reverse the effects of the campaign against us. If Isaias is allowed to have his way in this region, it's about Isaias controlling the levels of power in the entire region and doing everything according to his capricious demands. And I don't think it's going to be in the best interest of Europeans or Americans or the international community at large for Isaias to exercise an oversized influence in this region. As is, he has had more than his fair share of influence in the region, and it has not been particularly reassuring. And we don't want that to happen. As far as we're concerned, we believe checkmating Isaias is not a geopolitical choice for us. It is a matter of survival for us. And it will behoove the international community to somehow understand where our concerns lay and do something about it. But as far as we're concerned, we'll continue to fight, and fight we will. And the people of Tigray will not kneel down in the face of Isaias's time-honored tradition of exacting submission from his adversaries. That would not happen. That much the international community should know.
Okay, given all these human rights violations by Ethiopian and Eritrean government and the international community's indifference to these acts, do you believe the international community is standing with Abiy?
Well, standing with Abiy is not about coming out in public like Senator Inhofe and company in support of what he does in public. If you fail to condemn the heinous crimes that he has been committing, you don't need an evidence. I mean, you need an evidence to put him in a court in Den Haag, but you don't need an evidence to come out with a statement to denounce his acts. So the international community obviously is complicit with what Abiy is doing, what Isaias is doing, by not saying enough is enough. That much I can say is how problematic the role of the international community is.
Okay, finally, does the government still stand in the belief in solving the conflict in a peaceful manner?
Well, you know, peace is a matter of strategic choice for us. So I don't have to explain this at length, why peace should be in the best interest of the people of Tigray. It has been, and it still is, and it will continue to be our strategic choice.
Thank you so much for it.
All right.
Okay, our viewers, this has been all for today's Direct Talk. Until next time, bye-bye.